Happy evening all, and welcome to this, our second annual Iftar celebration. I'm Tom Negri. I'm the Interim Director of Human Relations for the City of Nashville, and I want to welcome everyone here. In case you were driving in and you saw a lot of security on that end of the building, it's not for us. All right, there's the governor's conference going on at the Omni, and I think the vice president may be joining there soon or sometime. I have no idea, but that's what that's about. But I'm honored and distinguished. I'm honored to have such a distinguished group of people here with us today, and I'm not distinguished, but it's really such a pleasure. I'm going to go through a list of people that are attending this evening, and I think you'll find it as impressive as I do. But more importantly, while I may not name your name, you're as important as anybody else that will be here this evening. So with that, some special guests include council members Brady Banks, Megan Barry, Fabian, notice that Fabian rather than Fabian, Bendine, Karen Johnson, Sandra Moore, Ronnie Stein, and Peter Westerholm. Imam Osama Muhammad Baul, the Most Reverend David Chobe, the Bishop of Nashville, Sister Sarah Galbraith. Did I pronounce that right, Sister? I did, didn't I? Yay. Ralph Schultz will be here. Rabbi Michael Schulman will be here. Saul Solomon, the Metro Legal Director. Butch Spearden. I'm pleased to say that we have Chief Anderson here, along with, I believe, 3 deputy chiefs, along with the public defender, Dawn Donner, from the Human Resources Department, Sonny Lyons. We have our county clerk, Brenda Wynn, whom I was just in Turkey with for 11 days. Yay, Brenda. And we had dinner last night, too. So I was very pleased to see her here. And I want to, and Sister Mary Sarah. So thank you all for attending. And if I missed anybody, and I'm sure I missed like everyone, my apologies. Of special note this evening, and I mentioned them earlier, there's some special, I'm an Italian Catholic, by the way. So my spiritual advisors are here, including the sisters and Bishop Chobe, so thank you very much for attending. But before I move on, I want a special shout out, because on a night like tonight, when we bring communities together, and people from different aisles and places, and I think it's really, really important to make a special shout out tonight to Chief Anderson. As the interim director of human relations for the city, I can tell you that Chief Anderson's department stands above all as the most diverse department in the city of Nashville and sets the example for all of us to follow. And you can tell that by the attendance here this evening, so thank you, Chief. And last but not least, this evening is going to be a learning experience for all of us. So, yeah, we might have a computer glitch. The lighting's not so great. I have to use my glasses. The program may move slowly. There may be gaps in here and there. But please know that the conversations at your tables are more important than perhaps anything you might hear up here. So keep those conversations going between the talks. Thank you very much. No, go ahead. Okay. You don't need an introduction.
Salam alaikum.
I can do that too. Salam alaikum.
But I say it and I do it better.
You do. Can you do it in Spanish?
This is Tom. This is Tom, and just give Tom a hand for who he is. Such an honor to have you here, and it is an honor to co-host with Metro Human Relations Council this event, the second annual Iftar for our community, and it's really celebrating our diversity. Part of the diversity is, you notice, I don't have to use glasses to read, right? But I'm not as charming as Tom. So in the spirit of Tom, happy day, right? I want to welcome you on behalf of Faith and Culture Center. We're blessed to have this many of you here tonight. I have to say that we've been at this for 2 years, and it's overwhelming the support that we have in this community. So thank you. I want to acknowledge 3 people on the board of FCC, and I'll name those and ask them to stand up if you don't mind. I see Bernard Worthen, and I have to acknowledge the person who says it's okay for him to be here tonight, who's also sitting at his table, Betty Worthen. Glad you're here. And I saw earlier a young, charming lady who was directing people here, Rashmi Sharif. And there's another young man who's sitting right there, John Kaiser, who is a board member. John is also the chairman of the William and Mary Grieve Foundation, who is a major sponsor of our efforts here in Nashville. He is part of the national Our Muslim Neighbor campaign, and he has made several trips to Nashville from Virginia. We're glad you're here. Another person I'd like to introduce who is going to lead us in the rest of the evening is a very dear friend of mine who's been part of this since the beginning, Reverend Robert Montgomery, who is our FCC Executive Director. And he will try to be funny, whatever.
You've been fasting all day. I'm going to let everything pass until after he's eaten. By the way, he's forgotten his name. That was Daoud Aboudiab. So if you were wondering who that was. And he is our FCC board president and one of the finest people I've ever met in my entire life. So it's an honor always to be wherever Daoud is. And so in some ways I do this because Daoud does this, and I'm just going to work with him. And it's been a pleasure to meet the people that that association with Daoud has brought into my life, and I am grateful to see all of you here tonight. I spent a lot of time in Birmingham, Alabama at one time in my life, and I learned the importance of being able to say it is good that we are all here, not just some of us. Not just some people from certain places with certain backgrounds, but all of us. So thank you that tonight all of you are here. It's my pleasure to also let you know that we've got some initiatives that are going on with FCC. I just want to briefly mention one of the very first projects that we're working on. It might not surprise you too much. It's called Our Muslim Neighbor. We are deeply concerned about Islamophobia anywhere and everywhere, but right here in Tennessee, we want to work to do all we can to provide deep understanding and trust among different communities. We want to welcome and embrace the Muslim community to the larger Middle Tennessee community. So a special welcome, obviously, tonight to all of our Muslim friends and neighbors. We hope you will stay in touch with us about this initiative. On your table are some cards that will allow you to do that. If you'll fill that out and give us that information, you'll be hearing more about that. We've got 3 or 4 aspects of this initiative that we hope to put in place very soon. So if you're interested in being a part of that, especially in being involved in small group conversations, much like around your table with different people from different cultures, you can do that, and we would love to make that happen. I want to acknowledge the Our Muslim Neighbor Steering Committee members. If any of you are here tonight, I've been scattered and I can't see who's here or not, but if you are here from the steering committee, if you would raise your hand or stand up quickly, I would appreciate that. Yep, I see them scattered around the room. So Also want to acknowledge the person who actually does all the work in FCC, and that's Aaron Stauffer, who, not surprisingly, is sitting over here at a computer screen. He's running most of the evening from over there for us. He's the one who's been responsible for getting out all the invitations, that with the great help of McNeely, Piggott, and Fox. And so we are grateful for all the help that we've got in being here tonight. I don't want to take any more time. Instead, I want to introduce one of my newest friends, a person who I just thoroughly enjoyed getting to know, and that is Imam Osama Balul. We've asked him to come up and introduce Ramadan as a part of the Muslim religion and to give us a little insight of that, and we've got some people to reflect together on some of his comments. So, if you would, Osama Balul.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and it's wonderful to be here today. Robert was texting me at 1:30 a.m. last night, and I said to him, "Why didn't you go to sleep?" He said, "Why don't you?" And we had a short tour trying to find this room. We went up to 4th floor, and anyway, we are here now. I personally feel good when I see people sitting together, because it's in the interest of everyone, of us, not only to know each other, but rather to work together. Muslims in Middle Tennessee, little bit over 40,000 Muslims. We have the largest Kurdish community in North America, in Nashville. And we have community Muslims been here for decades. Masjid al-Islam was the oldest and the Islamic Center of Nashville, existing now for more than 3 decades. And the history of the Muslim community in Middle Tennessee proved that they are committed to work with the greater community. And it's obvious that the Muslim community, and I can say comfortably, they are taking this kind of work so seriously. Muslim fast in the month of Ramadan. Ramadan is 1 month every year. It is the 9th month of the Arabic calendar. It moves around. I remember in 1999, I was in Germany, and it was in the winter. Ramadan was really short. We used to fast from 7:30 until 4:15. And now we are fasting from 4 a.m. until 8:03. If you feel bad about that, I have a friend of mine was talking to me last week from Europe. They start fasting from 12:30 a.m. until 11:30 p.m. So I said to them, I'm not going to fast in Europe at all. I love America. Well, it seems like the time Muslims fast can be as short as 11 hours, and it can be as long as 21 hours. It depends on your location and the time of the year. Ramadan will move every year 11 days. So Muslims will fast throughout the year. You can fast in the summer probably a few times in your life. When I started fasting back in Egypt, it was in the summer. And the month will go through the year every 33 years. Muslim fast, they will not eat, drink, or have any relation with their spouse. At least we hope. It's mandatory for them to fast, and God mentioned this in the Holy Quran, and He said to the Muslims people, you are not the only nation fasting. He make it mandatory for us to fast like what He did for the nations before us. Why Muslim fast, and when they supposed to start fasting? Jana, my daughter, she is 8 years old. She fasts until noon. And they're supposed to start fasting when they reach maturity. In the age of 17 or so, it will become mandatory for them. They don't have to fast if they are sick. If a woman in her cycle, she cannot fast. If she is pregnant, she has the right not to fast. If she is breastfeeding, she has the right not to fast. And we have a process for this. They have to make these days up in the later days, or they have to feed families for each day. If you are traveling, travel is an excuse for you not to fast. You have the right not to fast. If you are an elder person, you have the right not to fast, but you feed a person for each day. So Muslims will fast. They have this physical fasting while they stop, get themselves away from food or drink. But also God mentioned in the Holy Quran that we make it mandatory for you to fast, for you to achieve righteousness. And the core of the righteousness, to be very close to God. This is why we believe our soul needs energy as well, and by weakening the body a little bit, we give our soul an opportunity to build strength. Fasting is an opportunity for us not only to express sympathy to those people in need, but rather be part of their life. While we go through the experience they go through, and in the same time, it's mandatory for us to make it easy for them in the months of fasting. While it's good for the Muslim male or female to donate, to make it easy for any individual, it's mandatory actually in the month of fasting to do so. So we express sympathy via action, and we make it easy for them. And by the end of the month, after 29 or 30 days of fasting, the month can be sometime 29 or 30 days. We will have our celebration. Our celebration will be excitement about us being able to obey what God asks us to do. And in the same time, it's a celebration of giving, while it will be a day for giving to those people going through rough time. We always say to the people, the one will benefit the most from your fasting is the people around you. So this is why we started donating to the people in our neighborhood, in our city, in our state, the country, and if we have extra, we'll send this help to anyone in need anywhere worldwide. Muslims always have this relationship with the Holy Quran in the months of fasting because we believe that the Holy Book was revealed originally in this month. This is why we find the imams leading the prayer at night. A long prayer can take between 1 hour up to 2 or 3 hours, going through the entire Holy Book. And the Muslims sometimes feel this excitement, and they feel so proud of themselves because it seems like they might be the only religious community memorize their Holy Book. So the imams will lead the prayer from memory, and the Muslims will have a chance to listen to the entire revelation throughout the month. This is some ideas about fasting. And the Prophet warned us, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, mentioned to us that fasting is not only a matter of food or drink, but you have to train yourself to get rid of any bad habit. This is why we remind our congregations that if you are a smoker, the month of Ramadan will be an opportunity for you to give it up. And if you can be able to be away from food for 14, 16, or 21 hours every day, I think it's a kind of obvious proof that you can get rid of any bad habit. The month of Ramadan is a very big social event while we eat together as a community, as families, and we've been taught not to eat alone. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he never eat alone in the month of Ramadan. He always invite guests. And he advised us not to invite only rich people like you guys, but he rather said invite people in general. And you can invite people coming from different level of life, because after all, we are all related. The human being all came from Adam and Eve. This is why it's important, quite critical, for us to express care and concern toward each other. I am really delighted to be here, and I am sure that every one of you is. And while fasting, the Prophet taught us that by the end of the day, God will listen to your supplication. And if we have a supplication today, I hope it will be God helping us all to achieve peace and help people to enjoy peace. May God help us to stop this conflict in the Middle East. May God watch over our city, our state, and the country. May God bless us all and bless the human being. Thank you very much for your time. I thought I took long time. It seemed like he wants me to talk again.
No, that's not what I was saying, but anyway. I'd like to invite our other two panelists to come up. Rabbi Michael Schulman, did I get your name correct? Traveling with little brain power tonight. And also Sister Mary Sarah Galbraith, if she'd come forward. We want to give them just an opportunity to kind of react to what Imam Balul has shared with us from their own faith traditions and their own cultures. So if you'd like to speak from your seat or up here, either one, just whatever you prefer.
Now there's a photograph.
We have to pose.
Want to begin? Sure. Well, thank you for the opportunity, first of all, for us to be with you tonight. This is such a pleasure to be, and your words were so beautiful, Imam. Thank you. The thing that struck me the most, right, from the beginning, was that fasting is always done in the context of a relationship. Fasting is never done for the sake of simply, especially it's worthy of note in our own culture for dieting, or losing weight, or even overcoming one's weaknesses or limitations. But it's always important that it's done within the relationship of the Creator. And as you are preparing for a guest to come, perhaps before the holidays, the house gets cleaned. You know, the house is always tidied up, and the windows are washed, and there's all sorts of dust that's removed from your house. And I think of fasting that way. It's the preparation for a guest to come. And what's beautiful about these beautiful religions that we all represent is that they all begin with a consecration. They all begin with a beautiful relationship with the Creator. And that is what sets us apart, I think.
Well, when I think of the holiness of the month of Ramadan, I think of our holiest of days in Judaism, and that's Yom Kippur, our day of repentance. And Yom Kippur is the climax of an intense period of introspection, of prayer, of seeking forgiveness from God and from those we have harmed over the past year. And of course, one of the similarities is the central ritual of fasting on Yom Kippur. And the Hebrew, it's interesting, is tzom. And it's very similar, of course, virtually the same to the Arabic word of Psalm. And according to our tradition, there are 4 reasons why we fast on Yom Kippur. The first one is as penance, to show contrition for the wrongs that we have done and for the good that we failed to do. The second one is as a form of self-discipline, to help remind us that the path to self-improvement, to a better self, and therefore to a better world, begins with self-awareness and self-control. The third is as a means of focusing the mind on the spiritual, Fasting on Yom Kippur allows us to move beyond the needs of the body to help us concentrate on the real needs of the spirit. And I think that we can all agree that as people of faith, we all need a little help to find a greater balance between those very real needs we have. But the last one, the last reason according to our tradition is the one that really means so much to me, and that is fasting as an awakening of compassion. And you spoke about this, Iman. In the scriptural reading from Yom Kippur, we read the words from the prophet Isaiah, and these words echo in our minds and our hearts throughout that whole period, and hopefully throughout the year. He teaches us that the fast that God wants is one that is not centered on mourning or centered on ourselves alone, but the fast that God wants, that beckons us, and in the words of Isaiah, is this: to unlock the shackles of injustice, to undo the fetters of bondage, to let the oppressed go free, to break every cruel chain. Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, to bring the homeless poor into your house, when you see the naked to clothe them, and never to hide yourself from your own kin? And so hundreds of congregations throughout North America, including our own, the temple, find great meaning in this passage, this reading, this message of compassion, and this call for ethical fasting on this holiest of days. And so while we abstain from food on Yom Kippur every year, we also bring thousands of pounds of food to the temple to donate to the Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. And we know that as in days of old, hunger still exists in our own backyard. It exists in our midst. And in our own region, the numbers are staggering, as I'm sure many of you know, that almost 400,000 people don't know where their next meal is coming from. And so finally, I want to share that I wish more people understood how much Judaism and Islam share. Our experience of fasting doesn't merely remain inside of us. It's not just about self-improvement. Rather, our experience with so many of our traditions and rituals, including fasting, can lead us to action in the wider world, to repair our fractured communities and to build opportunities for all people. And so I also want to wish you and our Muslim friends Ramadan Mubarak this season.
Yeah. And I really want to welcome Rabbi Michael to the city of Nashville. This is his first week in Tennessee. And
yes, 1 week.
And he came from Georgia, and I said Tennessee is much better than Georgia. And he was in the city of Atlanta, and you will find Nashville fascinating. And you will be comfortable, and if we can make it any easier for you, let us know. And we are very delighted to have you, and I am sure that the youth in the temple are very excited about him leading them.
Thank you. As am I.
He will ask me to stop, but let me, before he will ask, I feel like, it seems like within if we are talking about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, obviously we are talking about the Abrahamic family. But even if we'll take this step ahead and we start talking about religions in general, it seems like we share the core value. As far as the three major religions, God mentioned to us to respect the 10 Commandments, and it's existing word by word in the Holy Quran. And if you have an idea about the three major religions, it seems like we have a huge area of similarity. It kind of something always surprised me. how some intend to ignore 90+% of similarity and concentrate in 1 or 2 or 3%. Someone was asking me, why do you feel the importance of the people sitting together and working with each other? I said to him, because I am selfish. And if you are a selfish person, you want to have a good life for yourself and a good life for your family. And I cannot guarantee a good life for my kids without doing my very best to make the life of each kid good. And I cannot guarantee a good life for my wife without trying my very best to make any life of a female good. I cannot live in peace without trying my very best to make peace exist everywhere. So even if you are very selfish, and you are not, I know that, but even I think it's in your interest to work. But I always in the interface activity, and I know that they are hungry and they want to eat. I like for us to take it seriously. We discussed our disagreement as well, and the dialogue has to be open. And we must keep in mind that we are working for the sake of God. And God expects from us all to make our life easy and the life of the people around us easy. We might be right and we might be wrong. The one will judge us, or the one with the qualification to judge anyone is God. And we must do our part. This is why the Muslim community is very delighted to be here, and this is why we feel like it's the first step, and I know that Robert and Dawood are really working hard in this, but we are expecting more from you guys.
Thank you. Actually, I was going to ask him to talk, so I'm glad he had that response, so that's good. We are running a little bit behind, so we're not going to have quite as much time for questions. We hope to take some, but we've got a few that we've got prepared that I'd like to ask each one of you to respond to just briefly. Each one of you is deeply grounded in your own religious faith, your own cultural experience. If you think back on your first experiences of meeting people from other cultures and religions, what were the important things that caused you to be able to engage each other rather than pull away from people? I think all of us in every culture and every religion have an instinct to be careful to protect our own identities. So how do you guard your own identity while also engaging with people of a different identity?
That's an excellent question. The first thing that comes to mind is that we're all seeking, and that was an experience I had very young of meeting someone of a different faith tradition and realizing that we both agreed that we were not made for this world. We are passing through, and when you set your sight with a friend on a goal that's common, it changes everything. It changes the complete landscape that you're working for. And so to work for peace, to come to some understanding about this, you seek what's common and you seek what's good between all of you, because we're not here forever. None of us are here forever, and we're seeking something that's way beyond. And so this idea of seeking something that's beyond what we know in this experience of this life, that's the commonality that really makes a difference, I think.
I remember when I came to Texas from Egypt, and the first time I met a rabbi, I met Rabbi Keith Rosman, and it was the first time for me to meet a Jewish rabbi. And I grew up in Egypt while the conflict between Israel and Palestine is very big. And what makes it easy is always trying to find a solution and concentrating in the positive part, and instead of complaining, trying to bring ideas, to bring people together. What makes it easy is to be yourself. I find it very comfortable to be yourself, not to pretend that you are someone else. I always sit with people, and I know that we have disagreement and we have agreement, and I find it does make it easy for me personally to be myself and expect from people to be themselves as well, and to realize that I am not here to achieve any result. The result in God's hand. I am here to do my part. That's it. This is really make it easy for me.
I think what's always surprised me is when I meet people not just of other faiths, but from other places in the world, from other cultures, that we have so much in common. I believe that even though we speak so many different languages, the words are different, but the feelings, the experiences behind them are the same. And we forget that so often. I forget that so often. And I constantly have to remind myself that as humans, as people, as Americans, as citizens of this world, that we have so much in common. And so when you look past the surface, whether they are the words, whether it's what we wear, what we eat, we believe in many of the same things. We experience those same emotions. And when I see that, when I remember that that is true, everything can come from that. The dialogue, the conversations, finding those similarities can really bring us to peace, to wholeness, to completeness, and that connection. We are all seekers. I really believe that. I agree with that. And we are looking for many of the same things.
Sister Mary Sarah, how odd do you think it is that many Muslim women wear a hijab?
I don't think that's very odd at all.
Can you comment on why you wear what you wear?
I was when I was talking to Tom, where Tom has drifted away. I lived in Sydney, Australia for many years, and so there are many, many Muslim women there, and we would meet often in the train stations and in the malls, and there was an instant understanding. It was quite lovely. We didn't really know each other, but we would say, hello, you have a head covering, I have a head covering. We have something in common here. So, but in the Christian tradition, especially as consecrated women, we believe in the Christian tradition that for a woman, the most beautiful part of her is her hair. It's something, and if you look even in secular society, women spend a lot of time on their hair. It's a big part of life. And so because we are consecrated to the Lord, and we don't choose to marry, we choose to give our life to the Lord, we cover our head out of a sense of consecration. So that this is not something that we highlight or something that we would draw or try to draw attention to ourselves for. It's an ancient tradition. It goes way, way, way back. And so Sister and I and our sisters, we're delighted to be able to carry that tradition forward. So.
Well, in just a minute or two, we will be getting ready for the call to prayer. I've got one or two more questions left, but I want to just comment on the bottles of water and the any dates or anything that's on your table yet. Some of that may be appearing fairly soon. The Muslim community will not have eaten or drunk anything today, and so we're all waiting for that together. So while those bottles are there, if it's okay, we'll all wait for after the call to prayer to do that together. As you enter your houses of worship, or whatever the more appropriate language of that would be, is there anything that maybe is distinctive about what you do when you come into your houses of worship? Anything that you remove, anything you put on in clothing or anything like that? Could you comment on that?
Oh,
Any of you. Specifically, I'm talking about that, if I want to just go ahead and play my cards here. When you go into a Muslim house of worship, you remove your shoes. When I have gone into a Jewish synagogue, I've often had something placed on my head. In a Protestant tradition, we've been told you take your cap off when you go into church. These traditions are meant to signify what, would you say?
For us as Jews, we think of house of worship as a holy space. We think of holy space, we think of holy time. And in those realms, we experience something different. And that idea of holiness in Judaism actually has a sort of a deeper meaning. Holiness is separateness, is uniqueness, is otherness. And it's not betterness or worseness, as I call them, but it's otherness, it's different. And so when we come into a holy place, or we are experiencing a holy time, like a holiday, like the Sabbath, like at a wedding or any other life cycle event, we want to do something that is a sort of a physical manifestation of that otherness, that separateness, that holiness. And so Jews, we often put on a kippah, it's the Hebrew, or a yarmulke, which is the Yiddish. That's a head covering, and there are many different types. When we are in a worship service, many Jews will put on a prayer shawl or a talit, or maybe you've heard as talis, which is a covering that you would put over your shoulders, which is signifying that you are in the presence of God in a moment or a time of prayer. And so many of the things that we do, whether it's clothing, whether it's the food that we eat, kosher food and the like, those are things we think of them as holy, as separate, and therefore, for us, they require that intentionality, that mindfulness, that what we are doing is separate, is holy, is different than the everyday. So those are some things in our tradition.
Well, if you will enter an Islamic center anywhere, you will find the Muslims praying toward the same direction. Muslims will always face Mecca, the city in Saudi Arabia. In North America, it's northeast. So for them all to realize that being united is not only possible, it's already existing, because they have this unified direction. All of them feel it. You take your shoes off, because Muslims will have their forehead in the floor while praying. This is why the place has to be very clean. But actually, you can pray with your shoes if you are outside. But the Holy Quran emphasizes the importance of being modest before God. Being modest means to find the most decent, reasonable, clean clothes you have. And the imams of the Islamic Center will cover their head out of modesty as well. It is not mandatory for them, but the Prophet often, not all of the time, but often cover his head while praying. You will enter any Islamic center and you will find the female praying in the front part of the Islamic center, and the female pray always in the back. Give some people an opportunity to criticize the Muslim community, saying, you know what, this is discrimination against female. I heard this a lot. But it's actually because of the way we pray. We stand and we move down, and it is not proper for a lady to be in front of a man like this. I remember having a class in the Islamic Center, and one of the ladies, she said, I dislike this issue of female praying behind you guys. And I said, okay, stand up. She did, and I said to her, do you know how we pray? She said, no, I don't. And I said to her, often people criticize without knowledge. But let me mention to you that we have to stand like this, and we have to go down like this, and we have to go all of the way to the floor. Can you do this in front of us all? She said, no, it is not a proper thing to do, because of you men. I said to her, this is why God asked the female to pray behind us, not because of any discrimination, but it's rather for giving them their space and their dignity. And if you enter any Islamic center, you will find Muslims having Holy Quran everywhere. They are required to read as much as they can. It's something about the Islamic center. You will find the dome and minarets, but it's not an Islamic tradition really. The dome and the minarets existing really before Islam, but it's becoming attached with the Muslim community. If this is what you have in mind.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'm glad.
I think because of the time, we're going to have to thank our panel at this point. So please join me in thanking them for. In a few moments, at 8:04, we will have a few minutes before that, we'll have the call to prayer. All those Muslims, of course, who choose to, this area over here has been designated for prayer. The rest of us are invited to observe them in prayer if we'd like to do that. We can sit quietly at our seats, but whatever we do in that time, let's be respectful of the Muslim tradition at this point. In just a minute, we're going to ask Imam Sharif to come up and actually do the call to prayer. I want to ask Imam Balul to come up and just say a word or two about the whole call to prayer in Ramadan. So.
Muslims pray 5 times a day. If you ask me about their biggest day, the Muslims Sunday or the Jewish Friday night or Saturday, it's a Friday. Muslims pray with congregation every Friday. Most of them will attend unless they have a valid excuse. They pray 5 times a day. The prayer can take between 5 up to 10, 15 minutes. It depends, really, we have some control over the length of the prayer. Before the prayer, we have what we call al-adhan. Al-adhan is an Arabic word. We can translate the word to informing people with the time of the prayer. Al-adhan is a sort of saying, this is, you have the right to pray now. He will stand, and this call for the prayer will be within the Islamic center. If you will go to a Muslim country, they will call the prayer outside, because the majority of the people are Muslims. However, it is not mandatory for the Muslims to make the call for the prayer public to everyone, but it's good for them to make it before they pray. Muslim will say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, God is great, God is great, and they will say this 4 times. And they remind each other with the core value or the core point of their belief, which is believing in the oneness of God. Saying, we bear witness that there is no God but God. The Arabic word for God is Allah. And Christians, as well as other religious community in Arabic-speaking country, they refer to God as Allah. Allah is the Arabic word for God. So they will say, we bear witness that there is no God but God or but Allah. Because the Muslims believe in monotheism. And they will remind themselves with the commitment they have with Prophet Muhammad, while Muslims believe in any prophet being sent from Adam, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, peace be upon them all. We believe in them all, but in the time of the prayer, we remind ourselves with what Prophet Muhammad did with us. This is why we say we bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God. And we say Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah means come to the prayer. Hayya ala al-falah, come to the success. And God is great, God is great, there is no God but Him. This is the call for the prayer. Then before starting the prayer, they will have they will do what we call in Arabic iqama. Iqama means informing people that we are starting now, and they are going to repeat the same sentence, but it will be a little bit shorter. Muslims, it's good for them, male or female, to pray within congregation. They go through what we call al-wudu before the prayer, which is the process of purification. They wash their hand, their face, their arm, their hair, and their foot. They do this before each prayer, for them to clean their body as an indication that they have also to clean their heart and their soul, and they have to concentrate in the prayer. We have the morning prayer, the noon prayer, afternoon prayer, sunset prayer, and the last prayer of the day. If you are Muslims working in any country, even within the Muslim community, it's impossible for you to go to the Islamic center in each prayer. This is why you are not required to go to the Islamic Center in each prayer. It's good for you to come. We always say to the people, it's good to come to the morning prayer and the last prayer, because it's after hours and before hours. This is why Muslims have the right to pray anywhere. You can find the Muslim in a gas station standing to pray. It will take him a few minutes. And they can pray in the airplane, in the airport. However, when they say to me, can we pray in the airport, I ask them not to do it. Otherwise, someone might have bad feeling. Something is going to happen. Anyway, they have the right to pray anywhere. It will take them a few minutes. They have the right. It's good for them to pray standing, making this movement. If they are sick or have excuse, they can pray sitting. They can actually pray laying down. If they are so sick, the Prophet said they can pray with their own imagination. This is why it's mandatory for each Muslim to pray 5 times a day, except a woman where she is in her cycle. It will be an excuse for her not to pray. They can pray as an individual or with congregation. They will go to the Islamic Center each Friday to hear a sermon. In America, they will hear, it will be mixed between Arabic and the English. While the Arab community, really the minority within the Muslim community, the Arab community worldwide, very equivalent to our size in America, over 300 million, while Muslims today, 1.8 billion with B. So why Muslims always care about Arabic? Because Arabic is very much like your Hebrew, your Latin. It is the language of the Holy Quran. It is the language of the religion. While praying, they have to recite some Arabic, regardless of their own language. They have to. And they can have it with accent, and I often tease them, saying, you know what, I speak English with accent, and you speak Arabic with accent. But they will do this 5 times a day, and they will come to the mosque on Friday to hear the sermon and to pray the main prayer, while they have to do it with congregation. We try in America to have it in the lunchtime. We say we try to start at 1:10, finish 1:50, to give them 10 minutes to come and 10 minutes to go back to their work. But frankly, sometimes it takes us longer. Long time, but we try to keep it within this line. You can go to an Islamic center and you find the Imam speaking 95% English and the Imam speaking 40% English, Imam speaking Arabic all of the way. It depends with the congregation. And we always have this challenge between the first Muslim generation Muslims and the second and the third. We have the third and the fourth now generation Muslims in America. They can't speak Arabic. They speak English. They are American, grew up in America. And we have some senior member. They can't speak good English, and they always ask, please speak in the sermon in Arabic. But anyway, it will be mixed between Arabic and English. He will call the prayer after 2 minutes. And it's the Prophet asked us to make dua. Dua in Arabic is supplication. He said, make dua before eating or drinking. God promised us that He will hear our dua and accept our prayer. And I personally, if I have a prayer guaranteed to be accepted today, I wish it will be having peace between the Jewish and the Muslim in the Middle East and stopping this crisis in Gaza. See, Dawood is playing with the time. He said, when I have a few more minutes, because he said Nashville time is 8:07. I guess it's good for me. I'm not sure about if it's good for you or not. But it's good. It's useful information to know that Islam is one religion, but Muslims are different people. You have in the city of Nashville a big Kurdish community, big Somali community, big Bengali community, big Arabic community. So when you enter an Islamic center, you will find people wearing different outfit. It is not because of their religion. Islam as a religion, as far as I know, expect from us to be modest. That's it. Being modest, to be wearing something reasonable, and Islam respect individuals' culture. While entering the Islamic Center, you will find the people speaking different language, speaking, having different outfit, and having their own culture. And it's something really special about the Muslim community. It's actually one of the most special thing about America as a nation. It's very rich in its diversity. So you will find the Muslims eating a specific kind of food, and we always say to the people, keep your own culture, but welcome other cultures as well. When I go to, I can sense each time I go to different Islamic center where the majority of the people coming from. But because of the food they eat, if you will go to a Pakistani Indian mosque, their food is very spicy. And I remember when I came to Texas, and it was the first experience for me to eat biryani, their food. It is very spicy. And I said, guys, this is too much. How do you handle this? He said, it's very tasty. And I find the young kids from Pakistan and India enjoying this spicy. And after a while, we get used to eating spices. And you will go to the Somalis community, and you will find them having their own culture as well. I never been in Somalia before, but each time I go to Al-Farouk, I feel like Somalia has to be like this. While the community very good, family oriented, very close together, and they always respect their culture, even in their way of their dress code. You will find the first generation always keeping the language, always keeping their way of life, while the second generation always American kids. I remember I had an event with a family while they want their son to get married, and he was 29 years old. Both parents were Arab. He speaks very good Arabic, but when we started talking, he said, let us all speak English. This is a very serious topic, and I don't want to miss anything. So you will find this within the same family, and we find this struggle sometime within the generations within the Muslim community. You will go to the Muslim community while they are speaking Urdu, speaking Somali, speaking Bengali. In the Islamic Center of Murfreesboro, we have families, and I'm sure this is the case with most of the Islamic Center. We have families from Canada. We have a few families from Japan. We have families from Latin America. We have families from the Middle East. We have, after the conflict of Syria, may God make it easy for the Syrian people. And I wish our government will have a stand to support those people. After this conflict, we have so many Syrians came to the community. And in the day of Eid, Eid is the celebration after Ramadan. I always enjoy looking to the people while everyone is wearing his outfit. So Muslims, they have so many cultures. I think I was in Dallas a few weeks back, and I used to go to a different restaurant, and I realized that Muslims really can bring their good culture to the people. However, they are supposed by religion to respect the cultures of others, and they are supposed to respect the law of the country they live in. It's actually mandatory for them. Imam Ahmadullah from the Islamic Center of Tennessee is a very nice man with a very nice voice, much better than me. He will call for the prayer.
Inshallah, I'll be speaking Arabic today. Sheikh Wassam already explained what it means in English. So inshallah, I'll be saying the call in Arabic as is required in Islam. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا